Milton will still have impacts to the North Carolina coast. I'll show you what to expect. And the new timeline for the coldest air of the season coming soon.
Two teams take the ice tomorrow, both with a lot on their minds after devastating hurricanes hit their hometowns. What the Lightning and Hurricanes are doing to help people impacted by Milton and Helen.
Washed out railroad tracks creating a logistical nightmare after Helen.
That's not something that we fixed overnight.
How long repairs could take and the chain reaction that could hurt the communities already hit the hardest. Then keep your eyes to the skies tonight, when and where you could catch a glimpse of the northern lights.
Never have I experienced damage or the amount of tornadoes that came through this area. And it was the most frightening thing I've ever lived through.
Of course it was. Take a look. This is the damage that she's talking about from Hurricane Milton. It hit that St. Lucie County community very hard. This is just some of the damage in that area. Thank you for joining us here at 7 o'clock. I'm Dan Haggerty.
And I'm Ashley Rowe. At least 6 people died there after a tornado came through. The damage is all over the state. This is in St. Petersburg. This is near Tampa. A construction crane collapsed. The mangled bunch of metal just blocking the road there.
We'll be getting video from all over Florida. This is what the storm left behind in Bradenton on the other side of Tampa Bay. What looks like the side of a building, I guess, wrapped around that power pole there. It's really a sight to see.
Unbelievable. In the last hour, we learned at least 13 people are confirmed dead. Crews have rescued at least 340 people and 49 pets. Nearly 3.5 million do not have power.
At this point, the storm is out in the Atlantic Ocean, leaving us, but we could still see some effects here in North Carolina. Meteorologist Kat Campbell in the WRAL Severe Weather Center to explain a bit of that, Kat.
We are still going to see rough surf, so the rip current risk will continue at the North Carolina coast tomorrow. Stays breezy at the coast tonight, but nothing of the severity that Florida saw. Milton is moving due east at 21 miles per hour. No longer a tropical system, still packing a punch with tropical storm force winds, but at this point it's really not expected to make a direct landfall for the Bermuda Island there, so it's not going to affect any more land as it moves to the east. Still breezy tonight, winds gusting to about 24 miles per hour in Nags Head, as well as Myrtle Beach, a 26-mile-an-hour gust there in Wilmington, but the winds will gradually settle down throughout the day tomorrow. Florida certainly saw the worst of it, a Category 3 hurricane at landfall. 38 tornadoes, winds over 100 miles per hour, significant rainfall in the storm surge. Luckily, not as bad as forecast. Here locally, we're tracking something very interesting tonight on the latest on the opportunity to see the northern lights coming up.
It sounds good. Talk to you then. Thank you, Kat. The Canes open their season tomorrow night against who else but Tampa Bay. Two teams with fans who have endured a lot. As WRL's Sean Gallagher reports, it's going to be about more than hockey when they take the ice.
The Tampa Bay Lightning have been focused on the Hurricanes for their first game of the season, but their focus right now is on the hurricane in their hometown. Grueling, unrelenting, exhausting. It's something hockey practice and hurricanes share in common. But what happens between the pipes isn't as serious as what people are dealing with in Western North Carolina and now Tampa.
It's a lot for, 2 weeks.
Kelly Becker moved her family up from Tampa about 7 years ago. Hockey, a welcome distraction from the reality her friends and family are dealing with back in Florida.
There's still a lot in Tampa that a lot of people with a lot of flood damage and whatnot. But again,
feel for people there, feel for people here.
The guys on the ice know when the puck drops Friday night, it'll be about a lot more than goals and assists.
People in the back of our minds, I'm sure that guys are going to be playing for tomorrow night.
We want to do our fans proud. We want to do the people of Tampa proud.
I know we're going to beat each other up tomorrow night. We're kind of all in this all together, as a hockey community.
That's the one thing sports is it separates the reality of what's going on in the real world, and you can kind of get away for a couple hours and not think about what's going on.
And both teams are standing on their heads for their respective communities. The Lightning have already raised $2 million in relief efforts after Helene, while the Hurricanes are in the process of raising $1 million through a raffle that will benefit the folks of Western North Carolina. Sean Gallagher, WRAL News, outside of Invisalign Arena.
It is great to see what sports can do. Let's get you caught up with 5 things you should know right now. And we're going to begin with the progress on Helene recovery. The North Carolina mine, critical to production of electronics around the world, has restarted operations after being damaged by Helene. High purity quartz is crucial for making semiconductor chips, which go into cell phones, computers, cars. That quartz is almost entirely sourced from spruce pine. Sibelco says its mining and processing operations started ramping back up today. Meantime, Governor Cooper signed the Helene recovery package into law. That's the one sending $273 million to the area. More funding is expected, and crews keep heading to the region. DOT crews from Craven, Lenoir, and Pitt counties all left this morning to relieve crews who have been there for days. They'll be stationed in Haywood and Henderson counties. Part of the Blue Ridge Parkway will reopen tomorrow. The whole thing has been closed for the past week and a half because of Helene. The stretch from milepost 0 to milepost 198 in Virginia will reopen tomorrow morning at 8. The rest of the Virginia area could be open in the weeks ahead. It will take a while longer for the parts in North Carolina. Inflation slowed again in September. Prices were up 2.4% compared to September 2023. That's the lowest number in 3.5 years. Of course, that means prices are still going up. It's just that they're going up slower than before. In total, prices have climbed 20% since 2021. An infant playpen sold on Amazon is being recalled. 6 models of Guymar's playpens are a suffocation hazard. Children can get tangled in the basketball hoop or under the mattress that comes with the playpen. The manufacturer is offering a full refund. We've posted details at WRAL.com.
So I asked you for some of your questions about the Helene response in Western North Carolina. I got a really good one from a viewer named Rhett. Rhett wrote in and said, I have not seen any mention of the condition of the rail systems. Have they been disrupted by washed out roadbeds, landslides, mudslides, things like that? Well, we got some answers for you, Rhett. One of the major railroad companies, Norfolk Southern, reports more than 21,000 feet of track washed away in the floodwaters. Several bridges got damaged as well. WRAL's Destiny Patterson did some reporting on this, and she found out losing the railroads could in fact cause a ripple effect, delaying the delivery of goods.
Snarled railroad tracks are ripped from the ground in western North Carolina.
It's heartbreaking to see.
This destruction has wider implications for the industry and the economy. 2 major railroad companies transport goods through the area, CSX and Norfolk Southern. CSX carries anything from rolled paper to appliances to food products. Norfolk Southern ships things like construction and farm machinery. They're part of an $80 billion industry that makes up nearly 28% of U.S. freight.
When the railroads are washed out, you can't get those shipments in.
Restoration to Norfolk Southern's AS line from Newport, Tennessee to Asheville is expected to take at least another 3 months. But from Asheville to Old Fort, there's no timeline for restoration at this point. The company says it's had particular difficulty in some portions of the line from Asheville to Black Mountain, describing much of the track completely destroyed.
Unfortunately, that's not something that can be fixed overnight.
The same is true for the CSX railroad from Spruce Pine to Irwin. The company says it doesn't know when the track will reopen. NC State professor Brad Ashbaum calls it a logistical nightmare.
Can that increase delays? Yes. Can it increase costs? Also, yes.
However, he says the industry is equipped to deal with disruptions.
There are ways to go north and around. There are ways to go south and around.
He says the issues are inevitable for the areas directly impacted by Helene.
For the areas inside western North Carolina that are relying on these trains to deliver goods, to any factories, that could be a big impact in terms of not being able to get what they need to run.
As crews work to rebuild, this is just another piece of the larger puzzle of recovery. Destiny Patterson, WRAL News.
Thank you to Destiny. Thanks to Rhett for writing in that question. Keep the questions coming. Send me an email to dan@WRAL.com. What else do you want to know about the relief effort in the North Carolina mountains? What is the news missing when it comes to this story? Let's talk about it. Tell me what's on your mind. And as always, we will go in depth. So tomorrow we're going to go in depth on the conversations that we have seen about the relief response. What's true, what isn't, what is being kind of used as political fodder, all that sort of stuff. That segment's going to be tomorrow night right here on WRAL News at 7 o'clock. Hope you'll be here with us to join.
It'll be great to just cut through all that noise. And we do want to talk a little bit more tonight about all the repair work that needs to be done in western North Carolina, particularly the roads. Hundreds of them are closed, including the I-40 section that crosses into Tennessee. But this isn't the first time that the interstate has been out of commission. What we can learn from past incidents after the break.
Then, as Kat was saying before, how about this? The northern lights creeping into the southern skies when you could see them and where. That's coming up.
Welcome back. I'm Brett Neese here in the WRAL Live Center, where we're monitoring a live feed out of Greensboro, where former President Donald Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, is currently speaking here at a town hall. You see the live feed there right now. Just a few moments ago, Vance spoke about some of the relief efforts for Hurricane Helene in western North Carolina, specifically talking about some of the efforts by people that have private planes and helicopters. Take a listen.
First of all, I want to thank you all for everything that you did. And I want to thank all the private relief agencies, the charities, the Good Samaritans who did their job and took care of their fellow Americans. God bless you guys. We should all be proud of them. And it would have been a lot worse without them.
Meanwhile, Kamala Harris's running mate, Tim Walz, is currently campaigning in Arizona.
All right, Brett. Hundreds of roads in western North Carolina are closed, and that includes this portion of I-40 right on the Tennessee line. I mean, this is staggering to look at. Helene just washed away the eastbound lanes here. This aerial footage gives us an incredible view of the destruction. But if you can really get a sense of the damage from this view on the ground, a mudslide took out these lanes. The road just ends. A cliff waits on the other side. Repairs are scheduled to start sometime next week. It's a process that will have national attention.
You got to understand, in some of these rural communities, mountain communities, these are places where if a bridge gets taken out, the next nearest bridge might be 20, 30 or more minutes away on a good day. As far as the interstate, the miles of closure are down below about 40 miles from 100, so definite improvement there. But parts of I-40, North Carolina's DOT is telling us that at best case scenario, it is months before they are permanently restored.
While we have never seen lanes just fall away before, we do have plenty of experience with landslides falling onto the interstate. Maybe you remember the rock slides in 2019. The interstate near the state line closed and crews worked around the clock, getting just one lane open a week later. The rest of the work took months. The same thing happened in 2012. 600 tons of rock fell onto I-40 near the state line. After crews closed the lanes and started work, a second one happened. In 2009, there was the rock slide that closed I-40, once again near the state line. The boulders piled 150 feet high in some places. All 4 lanes closed for 6 months, but repairs weren't actually fully complete until a full year later. The area also had rock slides in the 80s and the 90s. What do they have in common besides the rocks, of course? Well, that's water. Heavy rain plays a role in rocks coming loose. It happened then, and it happened again during Helene. But it wasn't just on I-40. This is a map from the U.S. Geological Survey. Every one of those dots represents a landslide that happened because of Helene, 575 in total. The ones in red, nearly 400 of them, impacts roads and buildings. This group gets the data from satellites, local organizations, and even on social media. And I want to show you one more map. This one's also just eye-opening. It's from the state DOT. If you thought the landslides were a lot, take a look at the road incidents. Every yellow dot here is a road closed. More than 600 of them, including I-26. Tonight, we got this new video of repairs underway on Highway 64 in Henderson County. Bridges just washed away. DOT workers said this is some of the worst damage they have seen in their careers.
In order to even begin to fix this kind of destruction, we have to have 20 or 30 dump trucks crossing this bridge. We've got to get heavy equipment across this bridge. The other routes in here, you can drive a truck to Bat Cave, but it's a 1-lane road that is in horrible condition.
Tennessee is going to handle the repairs on I-40 near the state line. The rest is up to North Carolina and the feds. These roads connect people, of course, to their homes, to their jobs, to food, to water, to shelter, to us. I-40 won't be fixed until sometime next year. You heard Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg mention that. Fixing the other roads, those local roads, really can't happen soon enough, guys.
What a long journey, but you know, we have people who have been there before and know how to rebuild. Good stuff, Ashley. Thank you. Kat, we're getting a look now at just how high the winds got during Milton.
Well, there's still over 3 million people without power in Florida, and you can see why. Winds around 100 miles per hour were the wind gusts, and these are in some pretty large and very populated cities. Sarasota, Venice, St. Pete had winds gusting to about 90 miles per hour. Tampa Bay, 98 mile per hour wind gusts recorded there. So it was a pretty ferocious storm as it moved over the Florida peninsula, remaining a hurricane through its entire journey over the peninsula. Milton is no longer a tropical system per se, but still packing tropical storm force winds. Top winds right now, 70 miles per hour. It's moving due east and away from the U.S. So we're done with the threats from Milton. Now it's the cleanup process that we have in place for Florida. For us here at home, it's been breezy. We saw the clouds last night and early this morning from Milton. Those have moved out. The winds will gradually settle down tonight. High pressure in control, and this is going to keep things clear and chilly for us. The good news is clear skies. Here's a big update on the aurora potential tonight in North Carolina. I've been looking at the new numbers as they continue to come in. It was forecast to be a G4 out of G5 geomagnetic storm. We've reached that G4 storm already, and the way things are looking now, we do have a pretty good shot now that it's starting to get dark here over the next hour. So step outside, especially if you live in a more rural city. Look to the north, low on the horizon. We're not seeing the storm at G5 like it was in May, so not as strong. It's going to be lower on the horizon, but check it out. We're still in that possibly visible zone. We'll have updates for you as we head into tonight on that potential, and be sure to send us your pictures. We would love to share some of those. A pretty unique opportunity. Temperatures tonight are chilly. Grab your jacket if you're headed out. Mid-40s for the low by tomorrow morning, and mid-40s, the coolest numbers we've seen so far this season. About 40 in Roxborough, 43 Roanoke Rapids, 44 in Siler City, 46 in Irwin, and 42 in Robbins tonight. Looking outside tonight, 62 degrees at the moment, a clear sky. We'll be looking to the north. I have already turned many of our live cameras here at WRAL to face the north in case we get that glimpse of the northern lights tonight. As we look ahead to the weekend, it is sunny, it is dry. It will warm up a little bit, but the humidity remains low. 78 Saturday, 80 on Sunday. A pretty nice start to next week, but even colder air arrives next week, just in time for the start of the state fair. That starts next Thursday. And coming up in just a little bit here on WRAL, we're going to go more in depth on the northern lights, kind of nerd out about that potential.
Yeah, don't go anywhere, Kat, because we're going to need you here for that coverage. The northern lights may be visible here in our area. It could be amazing. We're going to talk about it. It's our one last thing in about 2 minutes.
Time to nerd out. Another benefit concert for Western North Carolina is happening here in Raleigh. WRAL is proud to be the media sponsor for Music for the Mountains. The show will be at Red Hat Amphitheater Sunday, October 27th, starting at 6 p.m.
I like it. Old Crow Medicine Show will be the headliner. We'll release the full lineup tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock on WRAL. All ticket proceeds go to the Community Foundation of Western North Carolina. Tickets go on sale tomorrow at 10. Hey, one last thing for you tonight. Could bring another opportunity to see the Northern Lights.
NASA Ambassador Tony Rice joined meteorologist Kat Campbell earlier today to talk about it. Let's watch.
Tonight, we've got clear skies, cool temperatures, and the possibility of seeing the northern lights again. A G4, with G5 being the maximum solar storm, is forecast. So tell us everything we need to know. And we know it's only a possibility for tonight.
It is, but we saw a coronal mass ejection occur on Tuesday evening, and we know it's directed at Earth. So we know that something's going to happen tonight. We just don't know exactly what it's going to look like. Forecasters have that G4 set up, but it could possibly extend to a G5, which is the level that that we saw back in May. So we saw some really cool things down as deep as the Carolinas last time. So there's a possibility that could happen. But what we're expecting tonight is some color to the northern horizon. And what we're seeing there is the aurora up in the upper atmosphere for our friends up in the northern states. So we're expecting something like that. But again, if it does outperform and we are able to see a more higher strength coronal mass ejection, we could possibly see some more color higher in the atmosphere.
So, Kat, you told us that you'd have a better idea at 7 o'clock. Where are things at now?
We're looking good. The northern lights already visible in parts of North Carolina. Not to the naked eye yet. It's not dark enough, but those with a nice camera can see it. And this is expected to continue. So now is the time, especially if you live in a rural city, step outside, look to the north. This is the picture we just got in from Wendell. You know, it's still light out, but you can see that pink. This is going to be fairly low on the horizon. Pink and green glows. Be on the lookout for it. Get your camera out on your phone. A lot of phones now have that night mode. You got to check it out. It's going to be really cool to see. Your best bet if you live in the Triangle and you've got a lot of light pollution would be to head north of Raleigh. Even better if you can head north of Durham or Chapel Hill.
Certainly look north.
Look to the north. It should be a cool sight.
Worth the trip, I think.
And thank you for making WRAL your choice for local news.
Our next newscast is at 10 o'clock on Fox 50 and at 11 right here on WRAL. We'll see you then. Go see those lights.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.